you, Sandy. Can everyone hear me okay? Good morning. Sometimes it still gives me chills to stand up here in this altar in front of all of you, thinking of family history and thinking about how when I started coming here 15 years ago after going through a rough divorce, the place really changed my life, all of the great people that I've met, inspirations that I've had. Anyways, my name is Chris Lennon. I am a member of the Musical Worship Committee. My pronouns are he, him, and his. Welcome to First Parish in Plymouth. Our minister, the Reverend Art Lavoie, Sandy Hammond, our director, our musical director, and Deborah Keller Wood. This is always a mouthful for me. Our director of spiritual enrichment. We apologize for not having in our order of service, but we have guest musicians today, Emily Browder Melville and Deborah Rudolf. And I was very fortunate because when I walked into the sanctuary, they were rehearsing. It was very uplifting. So welcome, Emily, and thank you to Emily. Welcome to Emily. Thank you, Emily and Deb. Okay, the first part of our service is being recorded. The recording ends just before we light our candles. We request that all continue to wear masks during the service, but we are delighted for the second week in a row to ask everyone to join in singing our hymns. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Our call to worship is by T.S. Eliot, we shall not cease. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Please join us in our opening hymn.
Before we sing the hymn, hello everyone, I'm the Reverend Arthur Lavoie. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And I want to extend a special welcome to those who are watching us on one of the local public access television stations or on Facebook or our YouTube channel. Our service is being recorded so that more people can be connected with us here at First Parish in Plymouth, and we are delighted to have you joining us. Please note that our web address is firstparishplymouthuu.org. And if you want more information about us or about Unitarian Universalism, please contact us through the website or our office, and our administrator, Jean, will get in contact with me or direct you to anyone you might need to talk to. There's also a place on the website where you can make a contribution if you would like. So we're once again delighted to have you join us virtually or on TV, and please enjoy this morning's service. Our first hymn, the words are printed for those of us who are here in your order of service. Sing out praises for the journey. Please remain standing and join in reading the words of our chalice lighting printed in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated.
I'm getting this. Okay, can you hear me? Yes. Yes? Oh, good. Okay. Well, I have some news. I have an advanced copy of a proclamation from the governor. Will you read it, please?
I'll be glad to. Hear ye, all citizens of Massachusetts, effective immediately, are hereby notified that baseball is now illegal within our borders. From today onward, it is absolutely forbidden to watch baseball, play baseball, or go to a baseball game. You can't even stand in your backyard with a ball and a bat. If you must, buy a frisbee or kick around a soccer ball. Don't ask why, we have reasons, and we mean it. No matter how old you are or which team you used to root for, you will be in huge trouble and go to jail for a long time if you watch or play baseball in the state of Massachusetts, starting today.
How do you feel about that?
I'm not a big baseball fan, but I wouldn't want to be told not to watch it.
Oh, okay. Okay. How do you feel about it?
Well, I love baseball, so I'm going to miss it.
Don't worry, I won't go for you. How do you feel?
Well, I just can't imagine not being able to throw a ball and bat around our backyard. Can't imagine it.
I know. What about you?
I think it's time to do something about this. What would we do? Play some baseball and let them deal with the consequences.
Oh. Any other ideas? How would you handle this?
Well, it's a huge breach of our liberties, and I would oppose it any way I could.
I'd buy a baseball and a bat.
Oh, rebel. Now, all of these are possible ways of dealing with this. They're ways to respond. Maybe this new law doesn't affect you. Who cares about baseball? Maybe you are devastated. You're going to play anyway. Maybe you're going to change the laws. Sounds like a funny example to talk about, but there are countries where doing simple, everyday things are forbidden. A lot of time, those forbidden things have to be thought about and changed. We think about what's happening right now with Russia and the Ukraine. Imagine you woke up tomorrow and found out it was against the law to be a Unitarian Universalist, or to talk about Unitarian Universalism beliefs. That's the pickle that some of our religious ancestors faced. Nearly 500 years ago in Europe, people got tired of being told that there was only one way to practice religion. They began to read the Bible themselves, and they thought about it, which meant that they started coming up with new religious beliefs. Some of them said, I want to believe what I want to believe. Others said, we can start our own religion because we all believe the same thing and it's not what they believe. Some of them said, I'm out of here. And they left the places that were the most dangerous so they could be a Unitarian where they wanted to be. Few of them said, nope, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to be a Unitarian right here, and I'm going to talk about my beliefs, even if it gets me in trouble, and I don't care. The truth is, we needed these early people and their reactions, because that's what got us to where we are. Everyone deserves the freedom to think for themselves, believe for themselves, decide for themselves how they want to live and what they want to think. And maybe we need people saying, I don't care. Because then maybe we care a little more. As you talk today about freedom, I wonder how baseball will enter into your day. And now we'll go on a journey of learning and discovery.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you. My name is Diane Stillman, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm a member of the congregation, and I have agreed to help chair the pledge drive this year. So I just wanted to share a few words about why I pledge and why I think that this is important for us and for our community. Please excuse me, I haven't done public speaking in a long time, so I'm glad I'm doing it to people that I love in our vision. I was raised as a Congregationalist. The church structure of Congregationalists is very similar to Unitarian Universalists in that each church is independent and responsible for setting its own goals and raising and managing its own funds. My father and mother both sat on many boards, including their church's version of the Parish Committee and the Finance Committee, and my father was the treasurer for many years. I remember sitting at the kitchen table and watching my father write out a check to the church for his pledge every week. He was a creature of habit, and he would do it the same way at the same time every week, which invited the curiosity of a young girl. It seemed like an awful lot of money to a young girl, and I asked him about his pledge, as well as all the time that he and my mother spent on these committees. And I still remember the answers during those discussions. He told me that he and my mother believed in community, and that our church was an opportunity to build a community that would serve the needs of its members, but also the town and the people in it. He would say, in order for the First Congregational Church of Hanover to be a vibrant and thriving church, which served its members in the community, we all had to commit time and energy to our individual finances. He explained that what made the church special, that it wasn't a business where people just showed up and got a service, but it was a collection of like-minded individuals coming together in hope that they could form a community where they could grow and serve others in our town. He said that he had noticed in his years as treasurer that members all had varied financial circumstances, other financial responsibilities, varying levels of involvement with the church, and such, but that the act of consistently giving to the community in whatever level that you see fit was an act of faith. You might notice that as I was describing my father's answers, he didn't mention God. My father was a complicated man, and despite his many hours dedicated to the church, he was an atheist. But he was a big believer in community and a big believer in faith. But he defined faith as the belief that we all should work to make the world better. I miss my father daily, and I am very proud to be his daughter and a bit of a chip off the old block. I inherited my humanism and my deep belief in the importance of community from him. These past few years have been trying times, and while I sadly have not been able to get together with my first parish family in person nearly as much as I would like, I truly believe I would have been lost if not for my connection with this community. My first parish family has given me hope to continue, even when the world feels like it's getting darker every day. Over the past few years, there have been many times when this community has lifted me up in the most simple ways. Attending a hopeful Zoom service after treating COVID patients all week had left me dispirited and framed. Dropping a meal off at a member's house who was shut at home, quarantined, and scared. Standing on Burial Hill, no, it's not Burial Hill, standing at the waterfront with my fellow UUs prior to the election to voice our opposition to hate and intolerance. Focusing on the needs of others in the community who were less fortunate by preparing a meal for the homeless staying at one of the area churches, or the more pleasant experiences of enjoying an outdoor gathering purchased at the service auction with beloved friends. This fellowship is my family. Like any family, they have expenses. That requires a budget. The Finance and Parish Committee needs to be able to predict with some accuracy what their income will be over a year, so we know what we can realistically commit to our needs. By pledging, I make a commitment to you, my fellow members, that I will regularly provide financial support for our common well-being. By giving our board a reliable estimate of income, they can make the best investment of those resources. It's how you all run your family, I'm sure. Let's give our leadership the information they need to make smart choices that benefit all of us, and let us give generously so we can use our shared resources to build a stronger fellowship that both supports its members and reaches out to serve the greater community. I would invite us to dream together of the future of First Parish that we would like to build, and then contribute generously with both our time and our finances to make the dream a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Our reading today is a meditation on truth by Kathy Fuson Hurd. Clouds of glory, a wheel within a wheel, heavenly hosts, a valley of dry bones, blinding light, a bush that burns without being consumed. All these are images that typically accompany the accounts of revelations in the sacred writings and myths of the various world religions. Though exciting to read, they are not particularly helpful due to the hard fact that revelations come in such fantastic forms only to a few unusual individuals. For most of us, visions of fire and glory rarely come, if ever. So having traveled the road of trials and initiation to the point in the quest where some great truth should appear, we may now find ourselves growing frustrated. We wait and nothing happens. No angels, no lights, no thundering voice of God. The misunderstanding here lies not in the cosmos or the deity, but but rather in the seeker's expectations. What we expect is a new and startling revelation that appears in one of those fantastic mythological packages. What we actually get is something quite different. For one thing, revelations come quickly, at a moment when we least expect them. We catch a glimpse of truth from the corner of an eye, see it suddenly in a shaft of sunlight, hear it in the space between two heartbeats, and it flies. So fleeting a disclosure can be easy to miss. But even if the revelation is not missed, it may still be hard to catch due to its often simple, familiar character. Rather than receive a grandiose, earth-shattering vision, we are likely to have revealed to us nothing more than our self. The self that is there all the time, closer than our own skin, not known because not sought. The self revealed to us will not be who we think we are, but who we truly are. After all, the pretenses and roles and psychological dragons have been stripped away. The self we see is wiser and far more beautiful than we could imagine, than we could ever imagine. The revelation is most ironic. After pursuing a long, dangerous quest and accomplishing heroic feats, we win as a treasure only ourselves. In a way, we have not done anything nor gone anywhere at all. Yet it costs virtually everything to acquire this treasure, ourself, which is already here with us even now.
All I need
how beautiful it is to have singing and harmony again. Thank you. Emily, Sandy, that was beautiful. Those who seek truth and speak truth, their bodies and minds become truthful. Truth is their evidence. Truth is their instruction. True is the praise of the truthful. Those who have forgotten truth cry in agony and weep while departing. This is a verse from a Sikh collection of verses called the Adi Granth. It's a cold winter night, and a group of people huddled around a hearth are engaged in lively discussion. We're in England, shortly after the dawn of a new century, with all of the hope and expectation which that brings. This, though, is the 17th century, the early 1600s, not the 21st century of our time. Picture yourself in this group. You are meeting with your neighbors and friends. You are perhaps the first generation in your family that has learned how to read. Imagine the new vistas opening before you as you realize your own capacity to learn, to think, to reason, to expand your mind in limitless possible ways. The book you are likely reading is the Bible. This may not seem like such a big deal to us, but these people are awestruck by the things they are learning, things that they never learned in church. Up until this point, only the bishops and priests and scholars could read, study, and interpret the Bible. It's only fairly recently that an English language version of the Bible was even available. Most of the story I'm telling this morning comes from the second of 6 lectures on our UU Covenantal Church tradition, written by the Reverend Alice Blair Wesley. She writes that the law required that everyone attend services in their neighborhood parish church every Sunday. Church services in the Church of England then consisted mostly of a lot of old ritual and ceremony which had hardly any meaning for our spiritual ancestors. Ministers were poorly educated and ill-trained. Professors at Oxford and Cambridge universities, especially Cambridge, were very interested in biblical studies, and new biblical commentaries were being published, especially in Germany and France. Some of the men coming out of Cambridge were doing great preaching that was making the Bible relevant to people's lives. People wanted to go hear this innovative preaching and were finding the Bible interesting and exciting. Gadding about, G-A-D-D-I-N-G, gadding about, was the term used to describe people's experience of going to hear these different preachers and then meeting together to discuss what they heard from those pulpits. They were not plotting to subvert the Church of England. They just wanted to hear good preaching and talk and talk and talk about it. The bishops were not pleased and felt threatened by all this gadding about. Their authority, their hold over people's lives, their monopoly on truth was being questioned. They removed preachers that people liked to hear and made life uncomfortable for the Cambridge professors. They ordered people to stay home in the evening and stop all this gadding about. Like Dad's example around baseball earlier. So the lawyers and the merchants in the community established lectureships on market days so that the professors and preachers could speak in the public square. The bishops shut these down as well. This only incited people further in their quest. As we all know, once our minds are engaged in meaningful exploration, it's hard to stop that quest for knowledge and truth. People didn't think the authoritarian stance being taken was true to biblical values. And they saw these new interpretations of the Bible as their source of religious authority, now that they could no longer trust or count on the bishops and the church. They began to explore questions about what a free church would look like, one that would more closely resemble the communities that emerged after the death of Jesus. They called themselves Puritans because they wanted to develop what they saw as a more purer form of religion. As the head of the Church of England, the monarchy stepped in, pronouncing that since they appointed the bishops, only the bishops could determine what the true lessons were that could be taken from the Bible. Many people were persecuted and killed. So the lawyers and wealthy merchants got together again and formed a corporation called the Massachusetts Bay Company. They got a charter from the king and a land grant in North America. Their intent was to set up a colony that was actually an independent government only nominally under the king's jurisdiction. They wanted to be far enough away from London so that they could establish a whole community of free churches without bishops. In the decade beginning in 1630, there were over 20,000 people who came over from England and settled in and around Massachusetts. And they joined our separatist ancestors that we call the Pilgrims, who had started arriving the previous decade. Now, I'm not trying to overly romanticize our Puritan ancestors. Their motives and their behavior weren't always as pure as their name might indicate. The investors in the Massachusetts Bay Company certainly made lots of money from this venture. And their treatment of indigenous peoples, Quakers, and anyone who was different never lived up to their own values. But for the early Puritans and Pilgrims, the freedom to engage in their quest of truth was sacred and led them to leave their homes and everything they knew in order to live the faith they felt called to. And as they learned about themselves, they discovered in that self-revelation a deeper and more true relationship with their God. And they found a whole new way of what it means to be a church community. They came to realize the important role that covenant played in the Bible and the early Christian communities. So they then wrote covenants to define and seal their relationships with each other. We are the inheritors of this free faith tradition. It is our call to continue this quest for truth, for meaning, for deeper understandings, for God, perhaps. In the chalice lighting, you claim seeking the truth in freedom as part of your covenant. Now, an interesting thing about truth is that it can be very personal. We each have our own individual experiences and interpretations through which we filter any revelation that has been given to us on our own spiritual quest. What I hold to be truthful or sacred, or most important, my understanding of God or my highest ideals can be different from yours. Seeking truth can be hard, and it can be painful. Sometimes we learn or discover something new that might illuminate or contradict what we had previously held as God-given truth. Sometimes we can be fearful or in denial about a situation or conflict, and facing the truth means a painful acknowledgement and letting go that may turn our lives inside out. Yet our spiritual quest for truth and meaning holds a central role in our lives. In his letters to a young poet, Rainier Marie Rilke says that it is important to live the questions. Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, he writes, and try to love the questions themselves. We must embrace our human calling to search for meaning, to quest for truth, to move through any discomfort or pain in order to come to a more truthful understanding of who we are, who is our neighbor, and who we are called to become. We have to continue to seek and explore until we get to deeper truths. It's disingenuous to take our wishes, our opinions, and pass them off as truth. And as we have learned from our religious ancestors, the more authentic nature of truth is born, nurtured, and lived in the context of a faith community, such as this one. We may have individual truths that we bring to the table, but they are more clearly refined and clarified through our experiences with each other in covenantal communities that strive to live their faith and their values. You know, it's more clear today than ever that we are caught in a kind of broken covenant between uneducated opinion and truth. At every level of society and politics, we see signs of falsehood and opinion being used to take us away from truth and to try to hide factual truth from us. Human society seems to go through these cycles, these waves, where there is open exploration that leads to change and transformation, followed by fear among some powerful elites who try to clamp down on people's search for truth. Followed again by another time of honest truth-seeking. often sparked by a younger generation that will no longer tolerate being held down. We now seem to be in part of the cycle where the powers that be are using misinformation, fear, and hate to clamp down on our freedom to seek truth, and demonizing the lives of those who don't follow the dominant white narrative. In Florida, for example, there's a parental rights in education bill that is being pushed through the legislature, which will block teachers from discussing LGBTQ people and issues. Any conversation about the history of racial injustice, or in some places, the history of the Holocaust, are outlawed because they are too uncomfortable for white children to hear. As if we are so fragile a people that we can't hear and deal with hard and painful truths. The governor of Texas has deemed that any gender-affirming care that adults provide for young people constitutes child abuse, and has directed the Department of Family Protective Services to investigate and prosecute these adults. These are only a fraction of the ways that seeking truth, personal or communal, is being criminalized and demonized. Our exploration, our quest for truth becomes all the more important in this environment. It has always been and continues to be the mandate of religious people and religious communities to continually strive to enlighten ourselves and each other, to bring the world a deeper understanding of truth. And of course, any religious exploration, any quest for truth, always teaches us something about ourselves. The world still waits for the truth that will set us free, writes Parker Palmer, the Quaker philosopher and teacher. My truth, your truth, our truth. The truth that was seeded in the earth when each of us arrived here formed in an image of God. Cultivating that truth, he continues, cultivating that truth, I believe, is the authentic vocation of every human being. May it always be so. Amen. And blessed be. Our closing hymn will be directed by the people singing it. Please, Sandy will tell you when to rise, I think, right?
Yep.
All right, first let me say what a joy it is to have Deb Rudolf here today. It's been a while since we've seen Deb. Yay! All right, since we're in week 2 of singing, we're gonna move and sing a little, and you can stand up. Okay, so this is in 3 parts. We are all, you included, gonna sing in 3-part harmony. Oh yes, we are. And first we're gonna teach it to a section at a time, and then we're gonna do it. All right, so section 1 is gonna follow Deb. I'm gonna say it's Ginny and that way. So Diane and Julia, you're gonna be in group 2. Kevin, you're in group 1. Okay, group 2, Diane, Julia, through here. However, group 3 is looking awfully small. So Ron and those of you in the back, do you want to scooch over near Deb and join group 3? Please, Art can join group 3. Yes. All right, this is a South African traditional. 1, 2. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Okay, that's the lowest part. It's group 1, we're gonna do that a couple more times. Group 1, here we go. 1, 2. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Again, group 1. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Okay, we're gonna do that one more time. 2 things, you can be louder, don't be shy. Second of all, we picked a key that works for all genders in any octave in all 3 parts, just so you know. Okay, group 1, loud and proud. 1, 2. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. One more time. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Okay, group 2, here we go. 1, 2. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Let's go. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. One more time, louder. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Okay, group 2, you good? Okay, group 3, it's a little higher and our rhythm is going to be a little off from theirs when we do it, but just follow me, it's going to be fine. So it goes like this. Freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming, oh yes I freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming, oh yes I. So we never sing the word, oh sorry, so we never sing the word no at the end, right, you got that. Freedom is coming, oh yes I freedom. Good? You're like, yeah, awesome. All right, we're going to start with Deb on part 1. Emily will bring in part 2, and I will bring in part 3. You want to stand, you want to move a little, and also this is the beat. People, we haven't made noise in 2 years. Let's go. Woo, here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is freedom, freedom is freedom, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is freedom, freedom is freedom, freedom is coming, oh yes I freedom, freedom is freedom, freedom is freedom, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Okay, next time I promise we're gonna have you dancing in the aisles.
We know not only that freedom is coming, but that it is only us who can bring that freedom. The freedom doesn't happen without our participation. Freedom doesn't happen, doesn't just miraculously occur without the voices and the hard work of so many people dedicated to standing out on Coles Hill or doing whatever it takes to bring freedom to our lives, to our communities, and to our world. And let's get out and do it. Amen.
so we'll demo it first. May I be safe, may I be safe, and may I be happy, and may I be happy, may I be free, may I be free, and may I have peace, and may I have peace. So we're all going to do that. May I, may you, may we, and may all. So may you can turn to look at a neighbor, or if that feels weird, you can think of someone you'd like to send may you to. May we can be this congregation, this town, and may all, I like to think of it as every creature from the crickets in my yard to the residents of Ukraine and beyond. So here we go. May I